Shana Tova. I am Phyllis Blumberg, and I am honored to serve as your president. How wonderful that in my monthly thank you letters, I have named hundreds of individuals who have given of themselves in one way or another in service to Beth Am Israel. And I'm sure that there are many others that I also should have named. Once again, I sincerely thank you for what you have done and hope you will continue to do so. If we were all together in the sanctuary, I would ask all of you who served the Beth Am community in one way or another to rise. If it were possible for us to look around the sanctuary, you will see that there would be many more people standing than seated. This is one of the reasons that makes Beth Am Israel a unique and connected community. Now, I am asking you to make a generous financial contribution. Your gift will help ensure our ongoing vitality at Beth Am Israel, even in these uncertain times. Why, might you ask? I answer because Midot, or Jewish values, guide how Beth Am Israel functions and will continue doing so. Your support this year indicates your endorsement of our mission to create a holy, connected community, even now as we find new ways to stay connected to each other and to our sacred traditions. Your generous donation honors the Beth Am as well as Jewish value, or midah, of kehillah, or commitment to the community. As many of you have indicated when you were asked, what does Beth Am Israel mean to you? Building and sustaining our sacred Beth Am Israel community is critical to our very own human fulfillment and to supporting each other. I've asked a few fellow congregants of this wonderful community to express personally how they connect to Beth Am Israel through Midot or Jewish values. Our collective stories illustrate how Beth Am Israel is important to them and to us. I hope that they will inspire you to find ways to help fund Beth Am Israel's continued existence. Here are their stories.
I was bat mitzvahed at Beth Am Israel and rejoined when my twins were 6 years old. L'dur v'dur, from generation to generation. My thoughts naturally form within the Jewish value of hashelet HaKabbalah, with the responsibility to preserve the chain, hashelet, of tradition. So belonging to a shul means being part of this invisible chain between Jews, stretching from Sarah and Abraham to my children, Benjamin and Samuel. L'dur v'dur is this continuity. It's my responsibility to pass on historical memory, ritual, ethical behaviors from our cultural tradition. It's always been a place where, in Abraham Joshua Heschel's intentions, tradition has a vote, but not a veto. So Beth Am Israel feels both traditional and homey, as well as expansive, flexible, interesting, inclusive. Recent examples I've enjoyed include Jewish mindfulness group practice, joining as a member of a synagogue in a few local Black church services in support of Black Lives Matter, including a presentation that was wonderful on the hidden escape instructions within biblical spirituals during American slavery. I was happy to be a witness to a visitor, a man who was painfully released after being unjustly incarcerated for over 20 years, with his lawyer and their story of helping secure his freedom. I've reached out to the rabbi and the cantor about my son moving to Israel and information. I've reached out to this executive director and past for all kinds of things, and appreciate their generosity and kindness. I enjoy Shabbat dinners with congregants at various homes. And now that my sons are young adults, I love seeing little kids running around our amazing open floor plan sanctuary, a beautiful affordance of kind of inclusion of all generations together in our shul. My boys and I are part of this invisible chain, but being Jewish isn't just a family event. A shul makes you part of a community, and Beth Am Israel has helped my parents raise me and helped me to raise my sons. And I value cultural diversity, and being Jewish was my parents' culture, it's my culture, and I'm so proud that my sons are launched and both strong in their Jewish identity. That was very important to me, and I'm very grateful.
My wife Phyllis Simon and I joined Beth Am Israel in July of 2019 after a number of years belonging to another synagogue. We've always belonged to a congregation because, well, that's where we belong, in a kehillah, a community of Jews. And we're so happy that this kehillah is now ours. I first visited Beth Am on a Shabbat, and I was looking for a vibrant community of prayer and worship, a place of traditional observance and modern practice, and a community that saw value in both. I knew that first Shabbat visit that I had found what I was looking for. Within a few weeks, we became members, and this community became ours. Since we've joined Beth Am, we've come to learn how many different communities are part of the Beth Am community. Yes, we're a thriving community of prayer and worship, but we're also a community of teaching and learning, a community of neighbors helping one another, a community committed to social justice in word and deed, a community of Jews who value tradition and share it between generations, and a place where friends just enjoy being together. As much as we love Beth Am, our first year didn't exactly go as expected, since we arrived as new members in the year 1 BP, before pandemic. But these last few months have shown me how strong this community really is, especially our services, which thanks to Zoom have continued to thrive despite our temporary exile from sacred space. We're looking forward to being part of this community for many years to come, many normal years, whatever normal may come to mean. But at this very abnormal time in our lives, we're especially happy to be part of it.
We love Hebrew school.
And for me, as a Beth Am regular Shabbat goer, having that time to check in and connect spiritually and with the community has meant the world, especially now during quarantine. And having a community of like-minded people who draw on their Jewish sensibilities to help create a better world means a lot to our family as well.
I've been a member of BAI for many years, and I've always been an active participant in everything from services to programs to performing to reading Torah to teaching, and you name it, I've done it. I love BAI. It is and has been for a long time my second home, and I hope that soon we'll be back to BAI.
This is my best friend Ellie, and the only friend I see most days these days. I live alone and I don't have family to speak of, but I have not been alone during the pandemic because of Beth Am. Sure, there are the obvious things, Shabbat services, care package deliveries, and the periodic Zoom and live events, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Beth Am community. And what's particularly amazing is that this community has been so much to me when I'm so new to it. I attended the Zoom service on that very first Friday night, and I don't even remember how it happened, but I made a passing comment about living alone, and someone I had never met reached out to me. She invited me to go for a socially distanced walk on Sunday, but it could have been almost anyone, because that seems the rule, not the exception at Beth Am. When Phyllis asked me to speak, she asked me to answer what Beth Am means to me. In a word, everything. I think people often think of volunteering as an obligation. For me, at Beth Am, it has been just the opposite. It's been a tremendous opportunity. It has helped me feel part of the Beth Am community. I think it's probably what I've missed most during the pandemic. Just being present at the synagogue, doing what needs to be done, and spending time with all sorts of interesting, caring people in the process. To Beth Am, thank you for welcoming me and making me feel at home so quickly. We didn't know at the time, but it was just in time for a pandemic. To those of you who might be new to Beth Am or who might not be familiar with all that goes on among us, I just want to say there is no limit. What Beth Am gives us isn't about the pandemic, it's community. It just so happens that it is this community, though, that is helping me, and I know many others, through the pandemic.
I hope you agree with me and your fellow congregants that Beth Am Israel has created a community that manifests connections, justice, holiness, and shalom in all of its meanings of peace, wholeness, and welfare. We can only continue doing this with your strong financial support and volunteering. Please, I ask you now to go to our website, bethamisrael.org, and make your generous donation or pledge of support, which should make you feel proud of what you are doing for all of us. Thank you for this year's generous Kol Nidre contribution. Gamar Chatima Tova. May each of us be inscribed and sealed for good in the book of health and life.